Hey guys, Papa Elbug here. We're back and we're doing a Warframe tier list today. So this is a tier list based on how usable the Warframes are, not putting any weird builds together, looking at how they do in the meta, in the content, in what they need to do, and that's what matters. And I'm not going to put any weird builds in here, talk about subsuming anything. This is just for what the Warframes can do with their normal utilities without having to subsume things. And yeah, that's the way we're going to do this. So, starting off, we got Ashe. Ashe is an interesting one because Ashe is extremely good for new players. One of my favorite frames, one of the frames I have the most time put into. But I'm not going to go out here and say Ashe is like the greatest frame you've ever seen in your life or anything. He's okay, and you can get a lot more better frames than Ashe these days. Like, I think Ashe is kind of peaked before Bladestorm was nerfed, but there's still a lot of great options you can do, Seeking Shuriken, stuff that can carry you through the end game. But the thing is, I don't see Ashe being the greatest frame for regular content, saying that he doesn't just absolutely destroy everything anymore. And for regular content, below level 200, let's just say, as our benchmark, he's great for endurance runs and all that too. It just, is he the best? Is he going to help the team out the most? No, not exactly. So that's what's going to give him the B tier. Atlas is a interesting one too because with stat stick you can get some good damage going. Especially I like using the frag war with him with his one, and then there's his he has some other abilities that are pretty cool, but he's more of a gimmick. He's one of those frames that just doesn't fit into the meta very well. He's not terrible, but he's not gonna. His attacks either fall off or they just don't scale well towards the further half of the game. Like, he's okay in the beginning, but long term, nah. C tier. Ooh, Banshee. Okay, this one hurts with Banshee because she's a good frame, but top to bottom, she's not the best. Her 2 and 3 are great. Some of the best abilities in the game. Her 1 and 4 suck. Yeah, you can armor strip with the first one, I don't care. Fourth one, that's garbage. That hasn't been good since, I don't know, I even started playing it. That was like freaking 8 years ago. So, yeah, and even then it was underpowered. So her first two, or second and third ability are good. The other abilities suck. You'd have to replace stuff, which I'm going off based off what the frame can do on its own. And B tier. Yeah. I wish I could get it A tier. If I could talk about subsuming stuff, I'd totally have her here, but because that's not part of what I'm talking about, B tier. Okay, so we're gonna have Baruch. Baruch, his abilities all work together. They work well together. And then they all charge up the final ability, which is insane. You're going to be getting good damage, like red crit. You can get still red, or I don't know if you can still red crit, but you're going to be hitting millions of damage. This makes Steel Path easy. Any content you want to play, it makes it brain dead. A tier bordering S tier because this is a tough one, but I'm going to say A tier, but really pushing up towards. There's no way to put it in the center, but yeah, A tier for sure. Caliban. I don't even remember this frame, to be honest. Put him D tier because he has some good kit. He has some great ability, or he has some abilities that you can work with, but there definitely needs a rework. I think they completely forgot this frame exists. I'm pretty sure they actually said they were going to buff him at some point, but they probably forgot about him like I did. Yeah, he has, he can spawn sentience in, they can do other stuff, but he's a cool frame on paper. It's not one of those gimmick frames hey, we need a sentient frame, boom, we have this. It's okay, that's cool, but it sucks. And this was in the period of time Warframes just came out that didn't really have a good place in the game, this, Ureli, other frames like that. They came out in this period of time where they were pushing out frames, but with, there isn't actually any value to the frames they were pushing out during this time, and Caliban fits that. Chroma. He does Profit Taker. His 1 sucks. His 4 doesn't have an ability outside of duplicating credits. Yeah. He has his use, but I don't think he's on F tier because he has you can at least use his 2 and 3, but it's not like he has 2 and 3 is great, like top tier, like Banshee's 2 and 3 is. It's like, okay, it can do the content it needs to do, and that's that. It's good for getting single shot DPS and getting, just getting your DPS, and if you use the Subsume with Zata's Whisper instead of the 1, you can get insane damage with it if they haven't patched that, but it's not really a playstyle I'm always going for. So I'm going to throw Chroma into D tier just because some work could be done to make it a lot better. Ember. I like Ember. I like definitely for just running through low level missions, and like if I'm doing some, I don't know, Lith relics, I want to go do a speed run a extermination or a capture. Totally, I'll bring Ember and I'll spam 4. You can still utilize her later on throughout the game, but yeah, I wouldn't really want to. That's kind of the thing. I don't really want to. It's a lot of work, and you got to use your immolation meter. It's just a pain to use this. So, C tier, unfortunately. Ember was probably one of the best frames when World on Fire, was still existing, but, they nerfed it. Which I bet a lot of people don't even know what that I'm even referring to. Like, fire would shoot out of the ground and, like, kill all these enemies, and it was a lot more efficient. You'd actually be able to. It was insane, but yeah, it was gone. Equinox. I like Equinox. She has some cool abilities. Her day form does some serious damage. You can utilize it at high levels, but she's missing something. Like, I can't tell you. It just feels like it feels like her abilities are a little outdated, but they are really good to help a team out. And like her Maim is a really good ability. I use that a lot. That's actually the first frame I got because not got, but I got Equinox Prime. That was the first time I discovered nuking and how easy it was. And that's kind of when I started using nukes a lot, or just things that did a lot of DPS instead of just trying to mod for more single target and play more old school. That's how I kind of got into, getting to better stuff in the meta. And Equinox is a lot of fun to play, but not the best. Like, you're not gonna find this in every single endurance run team or every single high level team. But I'm gonna say a good B tier. Excalibur. He's a poster boy. Whatever. We're gonna look past that. Slash Dash. I mean, it can scale. Nobody's using it like that though. His 2 is Radial Blind. I mean, it's a good ability. I mean, you'd have to mod for more power or more range, which I just like. If I'm gonna use Excalibur or any of the other variants for Excalibur, I'm gonna keep some of the spoilers out. But what you're gonna see is that he's good for early game. He's the best starter in my opinion he is simple to use by design, and I think that's great for a new player, and that's why he's the perfect starter frame. But is he going to be the best frame you're ever going to encounter? No, he's not. So he does have some good uses. You can get the damage up on him. You can use some weird abilities. You can, especially the one that gives you the status. That's a pretty good use. But I mean, it's Excalibur. It's C tier. Frost, F tier for Frost. Fits right there. Snow Globe Frost is just a Warframe from a different time. That's all I can really say about it. It's just a frame from a different time period. And Warframe is one of the first frames that came out, and he's good, but he's missing. Yeah, his first 2 abilities maybe worked in early game. Like early game, like back when level 10s were like something you're gonna be fighting every day. For me, you don't even find that in relics. You're just running past that. Nobody has time to spam 1 and 2 you're gonna be spending some energy on that, and it's like, really? And then the third ability that slows down. First of all, you can't shoot into the frost bubble, which I think makes it extremely annoying. Because if enemies are inside there, they're not getting slowed down enough to where it's going to make a difference. This was back in. I remember loving having a Frost on the team back when I'd play a COD with. Back in MR. I gotta explain the time period on this one, but back in MR2 and 3 days, It'd be so fun to have a Frost because, mind you, that's when like none of my friends would upgrade their weapons ever. Like right when the game came out, and we'd play a COD all day. We'd just farm that node on Earth, and we'd just put snow globes down, and that's when it was useful. And that's kind of how the game was played a little. Not really. That wasn't how the meta was, but that's how people would play back then. That was fine. But now, that's just slowing the objectives down. If you're going to put up a wall, Gara's a lot better option because you can at least blow that up and kill the enemies, or, use Shatter Shield, use Gara the way it's intended to, but Frost, no. Avalanche doesn't do much of anything. Yes, you can use Ensnare and break the game, I know, but yeah, Frost needs a rework. F is definitely FD rework. C is just kind of basic frames. B, very good, usable, but maybe not as versatile as they could be. A, S, those are like top tier. Gara, A tier. I mean, you use Shatter Shield, you get a lot of very good damage. You use her abilities all work pretty well together. Spectral Rage is really good, especially with the augment. But with augment Spectral Rage. But overall, I mean, my problem with Gara is she is A tier, but she falls into the same boat as Octavia does for me, and that Gara is not that fun to play. I do not like playing Gara, because you can tank, you can run around, kill things, but just by walking by them. But grinding up all that just does not appeal to me, and that's my personal preference. But yeah, that's not my type of play style. It's not what I'm going for. You can understand that. I mean, it's what it is. Garuda. Now, Garuda got some really good buffs. Like, really good buffs. I'm not going to say she's going to be the easiest frame to play or the most fun frame, but getting double damage, I love that. That's one of my favorite things about her. You get a lot of damage. You get some survivability. She has some okay, like, crowd control, DPS abilities, good slash procs, and she's a good frame. I mean, you gotta use her in the right way, or because a lot of people see Garuda and not know how to play her, just think it's whatever. But no, Garuda's a lot of fun to play. I want Garuda Prime, great frame. I'm gonna put her in somewhere between A and B. I'm gonna go with B. Yeah, it's Gauss, S tier. S tier frame. You get tons of damage. You can nuke with there's so many different ways you could build Gauss. He does so much damage. Redline, I like the subsume ability. I like putting that on Titania. Overall, really good frame. Really, I never see him around too much because he's kind of annoying to get, but I cannot wait until Gauss Prime comes out after Wisp Prime. I will grind to get this like day one, and I usually don't do that. So yeah, Gauss S tier. Grendel, he had some good buffs recently. Like Nourish does more, just the things do more damage. You're getting more use of it. I think subsuming is really good to get the toxin procs now. That's something I really value with is getting all these sorts of procs, and yeah, it's fairly good. I'm gonna put Grendel in. I'll put him in B tier. Why not? C tier, because he still needs I mean, you can still roll. But you can eat a lot of the enemies. The Nourish works well, but yeah, he'd be somewhere between B and C now. So we're looking at Gyre now, which I don't really know about this frame. I mean, she can deal some good damage. You'll be getting crits. But you gotta really use her abilities. She's a caster for sure. You gotta be casting abilities. You gotta be doing all that, and it's still it's not gonna be top tier, but she's not a bad frame at all. I'd definitely go B tier. She isn't like, it's not gonna blow you away or nothing, but it's definitely not a frame I'd skip over, but nothing great. Or nothing that you're going to use every day in kind of a gimmicky frame, I think would be a better way to put that. You're not going to use it in every single run. Now, Hero. Okay. You can get a lot of energy for yourself, but outside of the one, what are you really casting all the time that needs energy with? I mean, you could get all sorts of good multipliers for yourself, damage multipliers, crit, whatever. But you got to do this all on your own, and the only other time you could use this is Eidolon hunts, which I don't even know if that's meta for Eidolon hunts anymore, to be honest. Because you can just solo those now, you don't really need a hero, but still good for Eidolon hunts. I mean, he does what he does really well. Like, he can get a lot of damage, but you got to play him solo, but he somehow works best as a team, or when you're playing with a team. I don't really understand it. It doesn't make much sense to me. And that's why he's going to go into the C tier, is because you got to be so... Yeah, you basically got to get all the kills, except he doesn't specialize in getting kills. He specializes in buffing. So, that's not really what I understand all that much about it. So then we get Hildryn. Hildryn, another C tier frame. I mean, she good? Yeah, she's good. But her 1 and 2 do the same thing. I think arguably her 1's better because you can actually move. And she's based off shields. Shields aren't really my favorite thing. When Toxin proc, she's gone. I don't really like that idea of having such a low health because... But she does work. I mean, don't play Infested with her because that's going to be the weakness endgame. But, I mean, she'll work. But she doesn't do a lot of things where you got to put a lot of different mods on. She'll do good up till like level 4 or 500. But after that, I just don't really enjoy using her all that much. But that's just me. Hydroid F tier. Why? Why is this even in the game? This is another one of those frames that's so outdated that it's just like not even funny. Like that they've patched so many other things. They can't buff this frame, but they can nerf my AoE, something that actually works, but instead you can be a puddle. Like, what the hell? Like, who wants to be this? Who wants to play this? His abilities don't do much of anything. It's just another one of those outdated frames. I don't care about the 4 with the augment because Khora does it better. Why? Why is this even in the game? Another thing, why is this in the game? Inaros, I don't care. 1 shot dead. Doesn't have any useful abilities. 1's kind of useful, but not really. Once you get to a certain level, I've died using Inaros at like level 40 against enemies that aren't that tough. That's kind of when I realized Inaros kind of sucks. He doesn't do anything. I think a buff is coming for him, but at the moment he's an F tier. These are just all frames need to be reworked, outdated, just outdated concepts. Other frames do what they do better. Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. They're just outdated. Ivara, I'm gonna go A tier because she's a good frame. I mean, she has a few things that I'm not a big fan of. Like the grind for her is not bad, which grinding for any frame these days got a lot easier. But yeah, then you got all her abilities are, she's like tactical, but she's like has the best snaking abilities. She can steal stuff from enemies. She's fairly good for spy missions. I don't know, I like using Ivara. She can deal a lot of high damage at high levels, but with some different techniques, and you can definitely make it work. Endgame, I've used a lot of Ivara, and it works fairly well. Khora, it'd be somewhere between A and S for me. I'm gonna go with A because I like marking them down before I mark them up. But Khora's S tier. But basically what I've realized with Khora is, yeah, they nerfed her. She would have been S plus tier if they didn't nerf her. You need a stat stick, but she is very good. You can remove her cat from 3 and put a different ability there, and it doesn't affect anything. I know I'm not basing this off what you can put there. I'm just saying it's an ability you don't need. And yeah, then your other 4 abilities are some of the best abilities in the game. You get Ensnare, which is common to subsume on other stuff. I love using Khora. She's fun to use, high damage. You just need a stat stick. You need either Frag or like something with a Riven. She's a good frame. She's great for survival, great for farming. Just an overall good frame. You want a Khora on your team if you're farming anything. Lavos. I'm gonna throw Lavos in the C tier. I mean, he can apply status, which someone said, okay, that's good because you can use it with the Cedo. I was like, it gives you your status procs on the Cedo already for giving, and this is arguably, yeah, this is B tier. Because there's a few things that work well for it. Railjack Captain, that's kind of what you want, so you get a cooldown on the energy on it, but at the same time you're limited by the cooldowns, not by energy. And I don't really know about that. It kind of doesn't fit. I won't say it fits in too great with Warframe, so yeah, I'm gonna throw him in D. Limbo, he's had so many different uses throughout the game's history, but yet he's still not that good. Like, even today, he just doesn't... I mean, for trolling, that's one thing, but nobody likes that guy. You're not gonna make any friends by trolling. So, I think he needs a buff or something. He has an interesting gimmick. A lot of people, I think, get him and don't really understand how he's played, but I don't really like seeing Limbos on the team, especially if I'm trying to play like a Relic and it happens to be a defense mission. And I'll be getting a Limbo who's probably thinks, hey, I'm helping. No, you're not helping. You're just slowing down the objective. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Limbo. I mean, somebody said you can nuke with his 4. It doesn't really work all that well. Just use anything else. So yeah, I'm going to throw Limbo in the D tier. Ooh, Loki, yes. Loki's one of my favorite frames, but he's not that good. Because his 1, I mean, it doesn't really do much of anything. It's his 2 and 4 are his only good abilities. He has the best invisibility outside of just like a one-hit cast and spends energy. It's not like Ivara's where you get invisibility as long as your energy's still up. But he is a lot better than Ash with that. Then his radial disarm's good because you can disarm the bombards and like a lot of the annoying enemies that you don't really want to deal with. A buff I could see being useful is you use that and it takes out the it'll take out the X-Miss's Overguard. That'd make it a lot better. Or just, it takes off more than the gun. That'd make him a lot better. Switch teleport. Other frames can teleport better. So yeah, I don't really see the point in today's meta of using this. So unfortunately, no matter how much I like using him, C tier. Mag's good. I mean, she's A tier, but you gotta kind of mess around a lot with her builds and abilities. Her 2 is really good for getting high damage. Her 3 kind of, in my opinion, falls off. Crush is good for getting rid of armor. Her 1 also can be subsumed onto other frames if you want pull. There's a lot of other frames that can do better than her. So I mean, but she can get high damage. She can do a lot, but I think that she's an A tier, not an S tier. Because she just does have slightly lackluster in certain areas. Alright, so my most used frame, Mesa. What can I say about Mesa? Her 4 is insane. She is the best new player frame in my opinion. I mean, I have a build on Mesa on the Shadow. I think that's the only build I have up. Which, if you guys want builds on any of these frames, let me know. But I have Mesa. She's really good. She's best new player frame. Her 2 and 3 work well together. You can get more damage. You can get damage redirected. She's really good up until you hit level 200. Then her damage falls off, and then she's not worth using anymore. But for new players, she's great. But for endgame and looking, even when you're pushing 150, it's like you really don't. You want to go for something else. That's why she's gonna go into A tier and not S tier, because these 2 frames are going to be doing stuff max level. She can do things max level. All this other stuff can go up to max level. The only reason some of these aren't up there is because there's like little things holding them back where these 2 frames work better. Mirage, S tier. Damage, just tons of damage, easy to use. When AoE wasn't garbage, this was the best frame I could run. Kuva Ogress, you're pissing off all the people with millions of Reddit comments. You're just going off. Like, I love running Mirage. You get tons of damage. You don't always get beamed. More damage, 4 clones. But her 2 is not great without... This is the one exception I am going to make without a complete kit. Because her other abilities can make them work for nuking. But without a complete kit, yeah, now I have to reconsider this one because she does not have a complete kit, but she'd be somewhere through here. But, yeah, she'd have to... I'm going to make the exception for her to put her at S tier, even though her kit could be a lot better. Nekros. I remember seeing Nekros. I'm like, when I first started playing, I was like 9 or never, and I was like, dude, we got to get Nekros. He looks so cool. And then Nekros, he's cool. Her soul punch, I don't really see the point there. Then the 2, it's like the enemies are running away from you. They're not that great. Then he's good for farming. You're gonna use that along with Khora, is what I've done, and got some good results. And then Shadows of the Dead, I like the ability. It's not but it can redirect some damage. But I wouldn't take Nekros too high up in content, so I'm gonna put Nekros in the B tier. I like him, but he's not gonna be the best. Actually, this is the only Prime Access I ever bought with Nekros, because it was so cool when I got him. Because that was like all the meta stuff. Like when the Tigris was still considered good, now it's like, in my opinion, one of the worst weapons, but still cool. Nezha. I could say something about Nezha, but I get banned from the region chat, but she's a really good it's good frame. And yeah, you get she's the best tank in the game, in my opinion, or my favorite tank to use in the game. Technically, there's better tanks, but I don't really care. Well, technically Revenant is, but he's not. I'm talking for like absorbing damage and actually taking the damage. Nezha would be the best. I mean, you can CC enemies, which I don't really like his 4 all that much, but regardless, still a good frame. He's one of the first frames that I actually ended up getting, so. And I didn't like him as much then, but with the changes, it's pretty good. So, yeah, I'd put A tier. Nidus, what I like about Nidus is he has the first frame that has like all the abilities that cohesively work together. That's what made Nidus so cool. And he works good up until it's at some really high levels, but after a while he falls off. Like everything that has based off health falls off at a certain point. That's what happens to Nidus around level 1000, 2000, anything up from there. It's just you're gonna be spamming stacks so much that playstyle isn't as fun. But I'm still gonna put Nidus at A tier because nobody's really, unless you're trying to prove a point or in a super long endurance run for a resource or whatever, you're not finding those enemies. I've seen level cap enemies maybe 5 times in the entire time I've played Warframe. So I don't really, and that's endurance runs. You're not doing it all that much anyway, so it's not a big deal. Nova is I would want to put Nova at S tier, but I know I can't. I need to keep her at A tier. She can speed up or slow down the mission. She can help speed up, or she can help you basically pace yourself on however fast you want to go through the mission. And that's something great about her. I can't put her S tier because she does have some abilities that aren't the greatest, but in all content. I think for level 100 to 200, I think her 2 is underrated, but you got to be able to hit the thing, and then you can deal some mad damage, but especially if you get things hoarded in an area, but that's just me. Next, B tier, yes, she's one of the best frames for high levels, and that's why I'm putting her there. Her chaos is good, but I mean, the rest of her kit, really. Her 4 sucks, her 1 could be utilized, but isn't the greatest. And then her 2 is the best armor strip in the game, especially for multi-targets, or armor strip in that type of way. So, yeah. The other Oberon D tier. I mean, he's another one of those frames. You can use him in idle hunts, I guess, but yeah. He's one of those frames that just fell off over time. I don't need to elaborate. Octavia, A tier. Why not S tier? Because she sucks to play. Nobody likes playing Octavia. It's the most annoying playstyle in the game. Nobody's trying to do that. So yeah, A tier. Not arguing with that. Next, Protea, A tier. She has some good utility weapons. She can scale really high in damage. She can go back in time. I don't really need that ability, but still good. Can gun enemies down, use your gun or your shrapnel blades or whatever they're called. Yeah, really good. Revenant, S tier, best survivability in the game. Dash through everything. You can make it to level cap. No problem. Rhino, I don't like seeing all these people with Rhino builds like, oh my god, I can get 4 million or 4 billion with Rhino. I was like, okay, cool. I don't care. It's Rhino. I really don't care. I don't. I think trying to use Ironclad Charge and all that stuff is like kind of too much when you can click one button with Nezha or Revenant and then get the same thing. Roar is a great ability. More I like subsuming it on other stuff, but that's just me. But Rhino works great. Stomp's okay. He's a good B tier frame. Kind of want to word this right, but he kind of falls into the same. He's going to fall if they don't fix him or kind of change the way he played. I liked when it would get rid of all the damage for the time period instead of having the damage, but that's just me. But yeah, Rhino, he's going if they add like a lot better tanks to the game, he's going to, in terms of being a good tank, is going to fall. But not here. He's at least works. Same here, but he could end up falling to a C tier if they don't do anything to make him a slightly easier to play, in my opinion, because people would rather click a button with these other two tanks than mess around with the other stuff. Saren S tier. My favorite, the best. She's good for every mission type, or every mission type that you're probably gonna play. There's mission types y'all ain't gonna play, but I'm sure she's just average and collect the gems or mirror defense, whatever it's called. But yeah, Sanctuary Onslaught, just doing anything. Saren makes it easier. Armor strip enemies, deal high damage, toxin procs. Miasma's still good. It's for spreading the stuff. She's good. Not and then yeah, one of the best frames in the game. A tier. Sevagoth. Sevagoth's a great frame, but there's no reason to ever use Sevagoth. One, he sucks to. I mean, you gotta play Railjack to get him. Nobody likes Railjack, so that's one thing on him. Another thing, he takes like a total of at least minimum like 12 Forma just to get a halfway decent build on him to compete with like other frames. And once you get that much effort or put much effort into him, it's like I'd rather just build him, level him up, get Gloom, put on a different frame. Personally, there's no incentive to use him. Like, he's a B tier frame for sure. He has great use, but like he doesn't specialize in what he does. He's kind of he's just there, I guess. Like, who actually uses Sevagoth outside of leveling him? I haven't seen it. Titania. That's Colorville. Titania, B tier. Yeah, I like Titania. She's one of my favorites. She's just one of my favorite frames in general. You can fly around. Her guns do good damage. Even Steel Path, high levels do good damage still. Her Razor Flies, I really like getting her in Duvary because you can just turn that on, kill all the enemies with the butterflies or whatever. And they just do a lot of damage. I like using Thermal Sunder on her. That's one of my favorite combinations. That's not what I'm grading her off of, or she'd be A tier, but yeah, great for running relics, great for speeding through missions, way better than Volt is for that. So yeah, Trinity, I might get some heat for this one, but B tier. I mean, she can heal you, and she can get you energy, and she has some good uses, but she's nowhere near as good as she used to be. You don't need her in Eidolon hunts anymore, so she's gonna go B tier. Valkyr, barely remember this frame. She goes to C tier. C tier bordering B tier, in my opinion, because she doesn't have any use that you would use her outside over other frames that are in B tier, but she is still good. Her 2 and I believe it's her 2 and 4 both still good abilities. So yeah, I'd put her in C tier. Vauban, C tier. Okay, he can do everything. Like, really, he can do everything, but he has a lot of abilities you're not going out of your way to use. And, like, yeah, his 4 is good, but it's his 4, you know. Excuse me, but, the 4th ability, it's like, that's supposed to be the ultimate, like, ability. Of course it should be good. Woban's one of those frames that's like, okay, cool, he has all this nice stuff. You play around with it for an hour and be like, okay, I'm gonna go back to using Mace or Saren. That's how I feel about Vauban. Volt, A tier. Eidolon Hunt's best frame for that, has his purpose. You can mod him in so many different ways. He's versatile. Even nuking isn't terrible with him. Not like the top tier nuke, but still a really good nuke. Shields, you can get a lot of damage. Volt is great for so many things, and I don't think he's used enough. Wisp, in my opinion, Wisp's overrated, guys. I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. Yeah, high damage is great, and her motes are good. She's a great team support character. But a lot of people would go right to S tier. I'm going to A tier, personally. Like, Wisp Prime's coming out. I'm happy to see it, but like, yeah, you get high damage and you can get a bunch of motes. I'm not gonna say she's at the S tier yet. I think you could make that choice on your own, but personally, for me and the way I like to play, I don't have a great use for running Wisp all the time, but that's just me. Wukong, A tier. Can't AoE spam with him anymore, but you can still... There's still other alternatives. You can use, like, Kuva Nu. There's a lot of... Kuva Nu, where I've done that one before. You can still do a lot of high damage and things with Wukong. He can fly around, good damage, get rid of the 4, because that sucks. That's, like, one of the worst exalted weapons in the entire game, if not the worst, but... Yeah. A tier. I really like Wukong. Great new player friendly frame. You basically get an extra teammate. That can be helpful to divert fire from yourself. Yeah, good frame. Zaku. I like Zaku. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. You can level cap enemies without trying. You can do somebody did I think a 24-hour endurance run. Really good, but at the same time he's a little bit annoying to use in my opinion, like just making sure the thing's dead, but yeah, it's a pretty brain dead once you get it. He does what you need to do, great subsumable ability. He's annoying to get, but you know, it's what it is. Your Ellie. Okay, Zephyr, so Zephyr's good because of the tornadoes. I do not like the passive. That puts her at B tier. That passive, why would you want that? Some of her other abilities are a little bit questionable on how useful they are, but with the tornadoes and getting the augment, getting the mini tornadoes and damage, that's good. Stanax, he could be so great. Excuse me, I haven't had a break while talking, but he hasn't had like a. He could have been so much better, but D just I feel like hasn't managed him well. He has some really cool abilities, but again, he's one of those frames. Why would you use him? That's one of the questions. Like B tier, he's average, like B, C tier, somewhere through there. That's like average frames that have their use, but not like an insane use. They're good, but I mean, why? Varuna, kind of. I like Varuna. She's fun to play, but is she gonna? What frame are you upsetting like in this tier that you're gonna run Varuna for? That's kind of what I'm looking at. Is like out of these frames, they're all great, except for maybe a few exceptions. There'd be better frames for the mode in other tiers, but in everyday missions, why would you not use these frames, or why do you use these frames and this like below tier frames when you could use these frames that are more meta? So I feel like Varuna kind of falls into the B tier because she doesn't have. I like the 0 status effect one. That's very useful for me. Parkour speed's cool too for speed running, but and she did, damn it, whatever. But I haven't seen a reason for my playing, which I don't have a ton of time with her, but why you'd use her over this upper echelon of frames. Citrine, she's good. She's a little bit gimmicky to play with. I've only got her yesterday, so I don't have the most experience with her yet, but I've liked playing her so far. She's a fun frame. She's definitely good for defense missions that I've been using her for, like low-level defense missions is what I've used her in some endgame stuff. I think I still need to troubleshoot a few things with her, so I'm going to go with B, because I don't see a lot of people using her over some of these other frames. But, yeah. Clervo, I can't give the best. I haven't got a great chance to use him yet. But he does have some really cool abilities from what I've seen. And because of that, I can't give a great recommendation of where to put him because I haven't got much use in him. But I would say definitely you can get some serious damage, and he got buffed too. You got to look at the buff. So, Caliber's gonna have to go into A tier, man. Alright, that's my tier list. Take a good look at it. Could be better. I know some people would move like Baruch, Wisp up. I'm just talking for my playstyle and like overall, how great is it going to be if I have like these frames? I feel like I could run any type of mission with up here. These ones, maybe outside of Ivara, which is kind of barely slipping up. Like yeah, these frames would work in any mission. Steinax would, or not Steinax. Clover would be somewhere between that tier. Same thing with Zaku in terms of like what missions I'd use them in every day. But I feel like I could also use these frames, and it might not be the most efficient, but I could use them in any mission. B tier, they have uses for them, but I wouldn't choose to take these to the highest level content that I could if I don't need to. C tier, these are just average frames. I mean, they're good for the use they have. They're either good at what they do, they're like one little game mode they're good at, but they kind of have super specific uses that I don't think they're the most broad frames in the game that you could use it for every single type of mission. In D tier, I think this is just your this needs to be patched, but they have like one or two things that I could see them being good for. Where these ones are just more broad, like yeah, you can see these frames and you can find more uses of these. You can take these to endgame, where these ones I really won't want to take to endgame. Then F tier just need to be fixed. Like these are garbage frames that need to just completely rework. So yeah, that's my tier list. If you liked it, let me know. If you have some constructive criticism, maybe show me something I'm not doing, let me know in the comments. Like and sub if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.